It is 12:30 Central Standard Time. My name is Nicole Good, and I will be the lead facilitator today. I am accompanied by Pam Baker. She is my co-facilitator. She will be managing technical issues on the back end and filtering through our Q&A that has been submitted. We do have an expert group of speakers that are ready to share valuable property and casualty insights and to answer your questions. So today we will be utilizing the Q&A feature. It's the very top bar of your Microsoft Teams window. So please be sure to keep your questions submitted in that Q&A feature. Make sure that they do remain relevant to the content and topics that we are covering at hand today. And we will address them after each segmented portion for our speakers today. We will not have time to call on raised hands, so make sure that you do utilize that Q&A feature to get your questions submitted for us. We also would like to notify you that this session is being recorded. However, your profile icons and the Q&A column will not be included in our recording today. And the recording will end when our official Q&A part of the session begins. So with that being said, let's go ahead and dive right in to see what we are talking about with our agenda. Now, we're going to open up today's session by hearing some opening remarks from Sean Fry. And then we'll get into the ComAg pause update from Fred Stahelski. We will then break for a little bit of time to address your questions that you have submitted in the Q&A feature. Then we're going to hear from Holly, and she's going to talk to us about commercial growth tools and the resources that are available to you. And then we will break again for some additional questions that you have submitted into that Q&A feature. We will then close out the session with closing remarks from Sean. So with that being said, I would like to open the floor up for Sean Fry, the PCO with Agency Lead. Sean, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Nicole, and welcome to Growing PC Together, our October installment. Today is another great growth opportunity for all of you as we spend time with our subject matters, experts with the ComAg and market management teams. And matter of fact, our next two sessions, today and on December 17th, are primarily dedicated to the ComAg teams. And all of this is so important as we look ahead at our destination 2030. Because our intent is to diversify our book of business here in the country. And it's so important to capture
let me call you back, or why don't you call me after you're done, because I have a meeting that has the resilience and they just started it.
But that doesn't mean let the gas off growing your personal lines, but rather help you with this diversification, much like you would do with your own personal investments. So markets 1, 4, and 5 continue to provide a strong presence in our ComAg business sector, and we continue to see new leaders emerging within markets 2, 3, and 6. And together we can all achieve a whole lot more. But one of the most important members in your ComAg plan should be the relationship you create with those ComAg market management team members. They should be frequent guests in your district leader meetings and help you find the best opportunities that we commonly refer to as where to win. So your commercial market manager in markets 1 and 2 is Darren Snyder. Markets 3 and 6 is Stefan Jensen. And market 4 and 5 is Travis White. And Beth Taylor is your ag market manager for all other markets, for all the markets. So please reach out to your DL, have a conversation, and really work to get these important team members to your tables. It can't be said enough how thankful we all are for all of you, as we continue to put all of these foundational pieces with new systems and modernized processes to adapt and create brighter futures. Yesterday I was driving home, from our son's wedding celebration weekend, and I reflect on my own personal journey along with my wife over the last 15 years or so. His wedding was kind of that final foundational piece for us through observing and supporting all 3 of our children as they navigate college, navigate new careers in their work life, their weddings, new family additions. So now, as things seem to be getting even brighter with grandchildren and that the next chapter is emerging, I'm reminded of the challenges, the financial pain, and putting all those foundational pieces together. But when I look at the completion of that foundation, I am all smiles inside of what the future looks like and the better place and blessings my wife and I find ourselves in today. payoff is so worth the amount of any pain that we went through. It seems to be very analogous though, when you look today at what's kind of transpired maybe over the last 5 years, maybe even longer, and all the foundational changes and the financial pain that probably have been there for many of you and many inside the company. But the forecast sure does see, signs of brightness, like conversion almost coming to a completion, faster, less invasive processing, more targeted approaches to win. And that all cumulative provides the hope we all need and desire. So before I turn it over and turn it back to Nicole, just a quick update on the service levels and the straight through processing. We continue to hit service levels on new business, and we're still working to get back, if you see in that change service levels, we're working to get back on auto and property. But obviously we're in full throttle mode of auto conversion right now. So there's a few more changes that are coming in than normal, and that's probably slowing the process down just a tad. But average hold times, or actually auto conversion as a whole, is going very well. But the average hold times continue to be good overall again. With a little focus on the auto conversion has probably slowed that one down just a bit too. But finally, as we put a lot of focus in that last area of straight through processing, so that we can have an accelerated process, much like the light company enjoys today, we want to do that for the property casualty side of the business. And we'll continue to make adjustments. We'll continue to fine tune and modernize our efforts to inch closer and closer and closer to our long-term goals. We are now with straight through processing at 35% on auto and 24% in home. So those are great strides we're making, and we're going to continue to get better. But with that, I'm excited for you guys to share with Craig and Holly today. They're a couple of just true, absolute fantastic people that work very hard in what they do, with always having you in mind from start to finish. So I'm excited for them to share. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to you, Nicole.
Thank you so much, Sean. We really do appreciate that and your inspirational remarks and updates on our service levels. Everyone, please give Sean a thunderous round of applause using that react with the smiley face at the top of your screen. So now let's hear about our CommAg PAS update with Craig Stukowski. So Craig, can you please tell us a little bit about yourself before we move forward?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you for having me, and thank you for that warm welcome. And Sean, you're our guy to follow. You're the technical insurance guy following Sean. That's the tough assignment. A little bit about myself. Craig Stukowski. Those who don't know me, I manage our commercial product team. I've been with the country for 18 years now. It sounds strange to say out loud. I've spent 99.9% of that time in various commercial roles at country, commercial underwriting, and also in that commercial product team. And prior to my time in the country, I started my career as a competitor on the road, where I learned the ropes from a commercial underwriting perspective. So that's me, and I've got a number of topics to hit with the group. I'm going to keep myself honest as far as time goes here, but we're going to touch on the timeline for the new policy admin system after this is the primary focus for the commercial farm areas right now. I'll touch on some commercial product updates that are going to coincide with that new PAS initiative. Then we're also going to touch on, probably spent the majority of my time, the new commercial auto rate model that's also coinciding with this timeline of the policy admin system. So first up, as far as the timeline goes, I think this is probably a bit of a refresher for most folks, so we'll do this pretty quickly. We're in the midst of it right now. Arizona went live on September 22nd as our official pilot state, and then Wave 1 states will follow shortly later this month, followed by Wave 2 and Wave 3 as we close out for this year and look at next year. And just as a reminder, at least one that contemplates the bot line of business and commercial auto, as well as the work comp line of business. Then for umbrella, it includes any umbrellas that are attached to a bot account, all of which are going in with at least one. And you'll notice some asterisks next to a few of the states listed here. That denotes our work comp expansion stage. We'll touch on a little bit more as we get going here. With that, Nicole will probably jump to the next slide. Okay, so this is also a bit of a refresher for anybody who's sat in on some of the sessions throughout the year. So I'll hit these pretty quickly as well. We're introducing a new country advantage series of endorsements. These are new endorsements that are going to replace the majority of our gold platinum endorsements that have been in place for a number of years. The gold platinum series, we had some success with that, but they weren't. The 4 segments you want to go after now. It had been a number of years since they had been updated, so we took this opportunity heading into the new system, take a bunch of feedback from our agency force, listen to our NAC group, listen to the underwriting staff that battled right alongside you guys to want the best accounts. Then we scoured the competitive landscape in terms of how carriers are marketing themselves, but also how they file their companies for repeat business, who have been very large national writers, the Travelers, the Hartfords, the world, and next year, Liberty Mutuals, the Cincinnati's. We also focused a lot on regional mutuals. We bumped into all the time and some smaller carriers, like the Federated, for example, which is really good contract. So we pulled all that information together, and then we looked at our current private offering, gold, platinum endorsements, and we just measured ourselves up on this assessment to see where we fell short. And there are some opportunities in there to round out our coverages a lot more. So going into this process, we had a number of objectives. We wanted to simplify our coverage offerings, move away from that voluminous number of gold, platinum endorsements that a new agent or a new agent commercial has to learn. It can be overwhelming. It can be overwhelming for new underwriters. We wanted to simplify. We wanted to get as competitive as possible, meet those table stakes, or surpass them. In some cases where we could get creative. And we wanted to do all of this without blowing up the premium associated with these companies. And we're really excited to get to the point where we're on the cusp of rolling all this out now. So instead of having the old gold, platinum endorsements for electricians, plumbers, for example, we've consolidated those. We've got just a straightforward contracted services advantage endorsement that replaces all of those coverages that were really mirrored to each other anyway. We also introduced a new retail food endorsement with that segment. And we introduced professional services segment for almost professional office classes of business. As we went through our process, we mapped out the loss costs that were associated with all the coverages built into the old gold platinum endorsements. We asked ourselves, we asked our agency force, that group, with our competitors to try to evaluate what's most valuable to customers that fall under these segments. Going through that process, we were able to whittle out some of the coverages that weren't really pertinent to those segments. So for contractors, for example, they don't really care much about maybe valuable paper records are lower on their list relative to care testing and program, for example. So we took that opportunity to kind of trade some of those loss cost dollars and bolster those coverages those segments care about. So we've increased the care custody control coverage for contractors, as well as some of the tools coverages. We bolstered the spoilers coverage for restaurant risk, science coverage for professional offices. The goal there, but less of the heavy lifting on you guys on those conversations, prospects, and clients, give you a much healthier, stronger starting point to evolve from in those conversations. So we're really excited to get to this point and to start getting your feedback as you get some experience utilizing these new. Within those advantage endorsements, we also included key person insurance. That's something we've had available on the CPP side for a few years now with the microgroup program and the winery program. We've had nothing but positive feedback on key person insurance. So we built in $10,000 person insurance for all those other bond classes. Well, this provides a really unique and differentiating coverage country in the event that one of your key people, whether it's your lead attorney or your chef in your kitchen or your lead carpenter, maybe skill set, one of them is disabled, or if there is a death, it covers the cost of the operating group to replace those key people. So I want to point that out as well. Really quickly, getting into some of the new additional optional coverages. Those advantage endorsements are automatically included on every bond policy. Coverages on your screens here are new optional coverages. Save the first one, a little bit of both. So for data breach, it's always been available. It's been available for 12, 15 years now on paper. What we're doing with this change as a new system on the product update, we're going to build in $10,000 on every bond. So that's from $1 built in. And the clients can still purchase more than you did, but becoming such a ubiquitous exposure that we don't feel great about not having something built in for each small business that we do business with. And that creates a leaping off point again for you in your conversation with prospects and clients. You get a $10,000, it's an opportunity to go over what that coverage is and then talk to them about the potential need to carry more. It's also, frankly, an opportunity to drive privilege against our competitors, those conversations prospects. Another one we're really excited to roll out is expansion of our professional liability coverage. We went through our process and self-scouted our coverages. That was a gap that we had in the professional office segment. We had very limited professional liability offerings. So we're changing that. This is our first foray to an expansion of professional liability coverage. And I rolled out for real estate agents, photographers, interior designers, bookkeepers, tax stuff. So some pretty heavy hitting classes there. And as we look forward, our goal is to continue to iterate this in the future. So we're hoping for success, we're hoping for volume, we're hoping for loss ratio stability. And our goal is to pretty quickly in the coming years continue to evaluate this on the front. We have those classes and just create less of a reason to have to split an account of professional liability through brokerage and the rest of the custom paper. We want to consolidate those accounts under guys on paper and really consolidate the billing and the overall client experience. With contractors, we've had contractor D&O coverage available in Illinois and Missouri for a number of years now, and we're expanding that to all of our operating states with the rollout of the new system. In addition to that, we're also introducing a new limited contractor pollution coverage for contractors. And we're doing this because more and more in different geographic regions, these are becoming required coverages for contractors. Coverage requirements they have to meet before they just have to put on the job site. So we want to be there for them. And again, not force clients to have to go elsewhere or to carve up their accounts with one-off coverages, brokerage. So we're really excited to roll out those two to kind of bolster what's already a pretty strong contractor offering for the country. And then last but not least, on the commercial auto side, we're taking this opportunity to update the auto broadening endorsement as well. We're going to increase those towing coverages, increase the limits available that are built in for the rental expense, and have some clarifying language to make it abundantly clear that if you've got a vinyl wrap in your vehicle, that's covered too as part of the science coverage. So with that goal, keep it moving. The next one here. Now, in a normal year for comp expansion, that'd be like the headliner. That'd be the only thing that I'd be here to talk to you about. But here today is one slide out of many, which is pretty exciting. Work comp expansion is a huge deal. We started this expansion journey back in 2015. When we opened up the door, kind of creaked the door open a little bit into Indiana, followed that those were really exciting expansion plays. But there are also really kind of a little bit of playing defense on our Illinois book of business as Illinois risk would cross into those states. And then in 2021, we had what I would consider kind of our first expansion play, Georgia and Arizona, gone really well. Followed that with Minnesota and Missouri, gone really well. And instead of doing pairs at a time, this new system, and just the efficiencies from an expense standpoint, cost of administrative projects makes a lot more sense than a big splash. So we're going to hit 6 states in succession here, with 2 of them are in wave 1, then the remaining 4 are going to be in the wave 3 rollout. So after we get through all of these expansions, we will be in 13 states, which is a really far cry from the one that we were in when I started my career here at Country. So just really excited for that, what it means for us as a company, the ability to, again, consolidate on the accounts, Country paper, no longer have to split up accounts by having to work complex with carriers, brokerage, and what that means for the billing process, premium audit process, and really just the ability to put specs around something else so the competing agents are able to get in there, bust in on that relationship. The last thing I'll mention on this also, that's what's stated on the slides, that with the new system, we're also rolling out multi-state capabilities. So today, for those of you that have access to work comp today, you may be familiar with the fact that you've got a risk to straddle 2 states. We've had to write 2 different sister policies, we call them. In the future, we won't have to do that anymore. In the future, we'll be able to write a single policy to meet the needs of a business that operates on a state line, on a border, or in a number of different states that we do business in. So 2 big things happen here: expansion, 6 states, as well as the introduction of multi-state capability. With that, Nicole, I'll try to accelerate even more than I'm already at here. One last reminder on the product side, a lot of you have this already, but we've also refreshed our full proposals, our applications, our policy decks with the new system. We've had a number of issues prior state where we had Ford apps that weren't really specific to the country, they were really generic. We had proposals that cosmetically weren't great, didn't have great branding, they didn't flow intuitively as you had conversations with prospects. And then the decks have historically been a challenge for us as well. We've cleaned all that up, made it more intuitive, and really we made it more consistent with the look and feel that we have across PCO. So in those scenarios where you're having a conversation about home, auto, and commercial, looks like it's all coming from one company, right? And that right, they're not doing business with different companies. So much more modern look and feel. And again, driven heavily by feedback from the field of our partners in the NAC group. So yet another thing I'm excited to be a part of rolling out, and hopefully we'll have some positive feedback from this group as you get some experience. From that, Nicole, again, we can go over. So within the remainder of my time touching on the new commercial auto rating model and how that ties into kind of broader rate discussion, the impacts of from a new system perspective, kind of what to expect from a commercial rate perspective. So there are a few different pieces to keep in mind, a few different moving parts. I'm going to spend most of my time on that middle section, on the blue bucket. But we've got the product changes with the new Advantage series, with the auto broadening update, and there's some minor rate impact associated with those. Like I mentioned before, we did a lot of loss cost dollars trading. So we reduced coverages that clients don't care about, bolster coverages that you care about. So the vast majority of the loss cost need was met with that kind of sleight of hand and shuffling of coverages. So very, very minor premium impacts from a country advantage perspective. Either zero impact or very low single digit type impacts. And then on the bottom, we've got our normal rate change activity, which is going to continue in the future. And that's just based off of the loss experience in our given states. In the last several years, it's just like everybody else, commercial auto, there's one hot country, just like most of our competitors. And the bottom lines are a little bit high. So we're going to continue that normal rate change activity in our states just based off of our loss experience in a given state. So that's going to continue these pretty straightforward. And then the new wrinkle would be the introduction of commercial auto rating model. So we're going to continue to be ISO based on our rating, thank you, Nicole. But we're going to introduce some new variables that are going to kind of sit on top of our existing rating. Some new factors that will help us segment our business much more, because we need help with our commercial auto rating. A lot of our competitors have long since applied the lessons learned in personal auto, as far as rating for prior loss experience, rating for driver characteristics. These are things that up until now we've never done. Commercial, we've had a very vanilla approach to our rating for commercial auto. And over the last 12 to 15 years, as the industry has really struggled. We also struggled for much of that time horizon, but we were always really proud to point out that we hadn't struggled as much as the industry here, many of our competitors, that our underwriters partnering with agents were able to price risk really well relative to our competitors. But in recent years, we've started to lose that fight. As a lot of our competitors have introduced more sophistication to their commercial auto rating, again, borrowing those lessons learned from personal lines. Made it really, really hard for us as a company to continue to be as competitive as we got a commercial auto line of business. And so to address that, we need some help here. We're introducing some additional variables to help us achieve better matching price to risk and that segmentation that we need to get as competitive as we need to be on the best accounts that maybe we're not attracted to on the commercial auto side right now. So those 4 new variables are the new driver age factor. First variable we've ever had at country that accounts for driver characteristics. In the future, we're going to continue to change that up, again, rating based off of their driving activity and serious violations. So that nature, we're not quite there yet, but we're going to be able to differentiate based off of that driving experience. If you've got a younger driving roster, the rating's a little higher versus more seasoned or experienced driving roster, which intuitively makes sense. We're also going to begin rating for prior loss experience or loss experience in that country, let's say. So for not really applicable new business, if you write new commercial auto business in that country, we don't have any prior loss experience. We can't objectively rate yet for their experience with another carrier. But once they begin to renew on country paper, then we've got some information, some claims data we can react to. Those accounts that start to to accumulate losses. Instead of you partnering with the underwriters to come up with like renewal pricing for those scenarios to react to those losses that they happen, we're gonna have an objective rating program in place that just automatically does that, similar to what personal lines does, as far as just automatically accounting for those losses as they accrue. We have an additional factor we're bringing in tied to vehicle weight or curb weight to further differentiate the impact of, just how sturdy larger trucks are on the road. We want our pricing to reflect the fact that if you've got a truck built like a tank, you should have a reduced rating on the collision side that reflects that. So we'll have that in the future going forward as well, the new auto rating model. We've also introduced a broader data set, partnered with Hildy to use their data to smooth out some of the differences we've had geographically at the zip code level. In a lot of our states, we've had some pretty heavy lists where zip codes that are right next to each other have drastically different rating, and made for some difficult conversations because it wasn't as intuitive, didn't make sense intuitively. Whereas with a broader data set, pulling more industry data, we were able to justify a smoother kind of rating experience around different geographic areas, away from having those heavy cliffs with zip codes that are right next to each other. That, Nicole, we'll keep moving. We've got a few minutes left. I think we're going to time out just right. So with the introduction of the commercial auto rating model, there's some moving parts here. So we want to put you in a position to be successful, to understand the impact of your book of business, and to be armed for any questions or conversations that come up around that with clients. So the commercial book of business dashboard that you're already familiar with, to use to top through your renewals that are coming up. Or we've added an additional page or dashboard to that existing dashboard that will allow you to see the impact of the commercial auto rating model on your commercial auto book of business. So as your renewals come up in effective date order, you'll be able to see what's coming and when, and you'll be able to see what the anticipated rate change is for that renewal. But in addition to that, you'll be able to see, okay, how much of this is just regular rate change activity by state, and how much of this is due to the impact of this new commercial auto rating model. And then it will total them all out to give you a sense of the overall rating impact. With that, I should pause, go back and just point to the auto rating model. As we're rolling this out, and technical, we are going to cap increases. So any increase associated with the model for accounts that do have increases, they're not going to get them all at once. They're going to be spaced out over the course of several years with the transition factor. But then any accounts that have a significant decrease are going to get that all at once. So if it's decreasing, then a decrease happens the next renewal. If it's increasing, it'll spread out over the course of several renewals based off of what your state allows carriers to do as far as spreading those out. And if you can picture a bell curve or the overall impact of the commercial auto rate model is actually 0% net impact. But within that 0%, there's a bell curve. The vast majority are going to see a plus minus like 10 to 15%, either a reduction or increase or a 0 or low single digits. Then there are a few hundred accounts of our 15,000 that are on the far edges of the bell curve. We'll see like a 30 to 40 plus % increase or 30 to 40 plus % decrease. The vast majority kind of is more on the center of that bell curve. Thanks, Nicole. That I'll keep moving here. The next slide is a kind of continuation going back to the dashboard that will be at your fingertips as this rolls out. As you click into your individual policies, you'll have even more information available. It's going to tell you what the characteristics are of that policy, and if there is an increase, what the primary factors are that were driving that increase. Was it because of the average driver age? Is it because of some prior losses, experience rating kicking in? What's driving that decrease? What's driving that increase? That will be available on the dashboard as well. With that, Nicole, I think almost right on time. Ready to take any questions?
Yes, we are going to pause here to address any questions. And everyone, please give a thunderous round of applause for Craig for that great information about the Compact PAS updates. So thank you. So let's go ahead, Craig, and start with the first question that came in from Jalissa. She says, why do we not write inland marine by itself? I have a prospect that works for a company and he only needs to protect his tools. He doesn't need liability.
Sure, yeah, so we don't write standalone inland marine because we want to avoid adverse selection if you're running a business, you're doing what somebody else, you have a need for liability paper or liability coverage or on another carrier paper. So what we want to avoid is a scenario where we write a standalone in this marine coverage, moving equipment, the theft exposure that goes with that, pick up this exposure that maybe a Travelers or Harper and cast off to the farm 50. If they retain the liability coverage and they cast off in the marine, we don't want to be there to receive that in the marine. So sometimes writing a final line of business has a significant risk of adverse selection associated with it. On the flip side, if they're saying they just don't want liability coverage, that's the trigger probably for a broader conversation on the importance of carrying both the GL coverage and coverage for the tools and equipment.
Thank you so much, Craig. Our next question comes from Richard. Will the data flow through from the quote to the application?
I believe that it will. Yeah, I'm not as quite as savvy as some of the PAS questions, maybe as I should be, or maybe Holly or others may be. But yeah, the goal is to avoid rekeying of information. So there are going to be pre-fill capabilities. The idea is that you enter in the name and address of the business, and then that will carry through the system. You don't have to re-enter that multiple times. But also, once you enter in the name and address of the business, we have new integrations to be built. It's not going to work 100% of the time. It's going to have a pretty good batting average, but we'll go out and scrape our data set, partner with other vendors on it, and we'll pre-populate some of that information. They've got a building, okay, based on the address, we can pre-populate construction type, fire protection, square footage, a value in some cases. Commercial auto, we're going to be able to pre-fill in some cases the vehicle roster based on the partnership we've got with us. So it's just really cool features. Goal is to minimize keystrokes as much as possible and repetitiveness, try to avoid having to key the same information multiple times.
Thank you so much, Craig. It's good to know that that information will automatically populate. So our next question, it looks like we have a couple of thumbs up likes on it. So multiple reps are curious as to this. So being that Commercial 2.0 will be in the new PAS system, will we be able to offer driver IQ discounts on the commercial auto?
That's a great question. Yeah, so we don't have a telematics program built in commercial auto yet. We did a few runs from a research perspective. And so if telematics is something that you as an agency force are interested in, I want to hear about that. I want to hear that feedback. Because some of the challenges we run into are just the fact that our average fleet size is pretty small still. You know, we've got our target segment of 0 to 9 employees we're going after. A lot of our new business profiles really kind of focus on that 0 to low single digit employee count. So it's the business owner and brother, father and son. So from a telematics perspective, concern is that we're positioned right now where it maybe doesn't resonate quite as much with prospects that we're writing because they're not as worried about monitoring the vehicle use of their brother as opposed to a business that has 9 employees and they want to know that their guys at the job site. How they're driving, how they're representing their business with their sign on the side of the truck and the driver's community. And so one of the bigger challenges we've had is just our average size right now. And like, when do we get to this point where we can justify like the investment, telematics? It's one of those things where we know what's coming to the bridge we have to cross. We're not crossing it right this second. But if we hear more feedback from our agency partners around the need for that competitive perspective, prospects are asking about it. That's exactly what we want to hear about. So we prioritize that. We would have closer and the roadmap rather than further out. So short answer is that that's not coming with it.
Thank you so much, Craig. So we have time for maybe one more before we have to move forward for time. The next question comes from John. Are we going to be able to run MVRs on commercial auto at the beginning?
So you can run commercial MVRs in DB360. That's what the kind of a precursor to the MVR order and the new system as we're rating them. We say at the beginning, I don't know exactly how early in the screen sequence that is, John. So I'd have to get back to that as far as that goes. But yeah, the short answer to that question is yes. In the quote process, we're gonna be able to run those. I just don't know. I struggle to recall with all the shuffling over the course of the past year. We've experimented with this. If it's at the very beginning of the screen sequence, commercial auto, or closer to the end, maybe when you're hitting the rate button. But it's early in the process. So if it goes to underwriting, then bounces back to you with the newly discovered driver issue or something like that. So you have early awareness. But I have to maybe get back to you as far as exactly what screen that design's on.
Thank Thank you so much. All right, that is all the time that we have for questions for this first half. So now we are going to move forward and here. So Holly, please turn on your camera for us and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, thank you, Nicole. Yes, so exciting with all of the product changes and system enhancements, right? All of that lays the foundation of the work to come. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Holly Gasberry. I am a senior analyst on our market management team in PCO. I've been with Country, let's see, next month will be 19 years. And prior to Country, I spent almost 10 years on the independent insurance carrier side, mostly in sales and claims management. So it's a pleasure to be on the call here this afternoon with all of you, kind of sharing all the various tools and resources available at your fingertips, right? We're not expecting, though, gang. We understand the changes of products and systems. That's a lot to kind of move along in that journey, right? But we want to get you prepared to not only for some of you that are already experiencing commercial today to keep that pace going, but really as some of you that want to start to engage further in commercial growth, really start to look at all these tools and resources and have a strong business plan as you go into the new year. So Nicole, if you want to advance the slide, that would be great. Okay. Resources, and then we'll talk about the action steps that you can take, whether you're new to commercial or you're experienced in commercial, and how do you leverage that to take yourself to the next level for you and your team. What you see on the screen here are all of the tools just around building your competency and your confidence, and then filling that top of the funnel with these acquisition tactics. I'm not going to drill this slide, right? But I do want to highlight the things that you see in the bold. These are the new or updated tools and resources that will be available to you. So first and foremost is the rollout training, right? Some of you are already engaging in that. I did want to comment, though, there will be a new component to the training that's available to you that will be sales and marketing focused, right? Where we'll probably go much even deeper on a lot of those acquisition tools and tactics. Then there's a new Agency Commercial Hub 2.0. That's already out there live, right? And so if you hit it, it'll make sure, are you in a state that's already rolled out or not, and it'll direct you to the right page. That's where you'll find all the product and underwriting information, right, and resources around that. Core Client Appetite Guides. I'm going to drill into this one on the next slide, but this is a brand new resource that's really your starting point of if you want to grow with a certain core client segment, where and how to begin. We've heard that question more and more often from reps, like, oh, I want to get involved in commercial, but how do I get started? These appetite guides are going to be the holy grail for you and your team members that are going to be new in the commercial space. Agency training has also built a new business owner fact finder, right? If you don't know the data you need to collect to start that initial conversation with the prospect, right? This fact finder gives you the guts for any business owner of things to collect right in that initial conversation. And then our product training folks have the coverage quick looks, right? And hopefully all of you are familiar with that if you write commercial today. They've been updated with the new coverages, right? So that quick snapshot of all the coverages and the limits, and can you get additional limits beyond what's built into the Advantage series that Craig mentioned. Then on the right-hand side, is the list of the various acquisition tools and resources, right? So filling that prospecting funnel. Sean had alluded to the where to win, right? And our commercial market managers who come out to those district meetings and start to share that tool. That's at your fingertips today through the targeted maps dashboard that's out on the Enterprise Reporting Hub. You can go out there and see the breakdown of all the core client segments and the number counts that are in your local zip codes around you. Right? So you can really start to think about what niche do I want to pick to start to grow with. We're updated the sales growth toolbox, right? It is live today. Again, it has a filter at the top that says, hey, if you haven't rolled out, click on this link instead. But on that sales growth toolbox page has all of these various resources linked from it, right? As well as a deeper link into the marketing, building your brand in the community, as well as the marketing best practices tactics live off of that sales growth toolbox page. So when you think about acquisition, that should be your number one spot to go to is the sales growth toolbox commercial page. And these things are linked from there. Marketing has obviously updated a lot of and created new pieces inside Brand Builder so that you can use those with your prospects and clients. And I'll highlight a few samples of those here in the next couple slides. In addition, they built a business owner associations listing, right? And basically that's a group of organizations that you can drill into their national websites and find local chapters that you can connect with, whether it's through sponsoring an event or being a non-affiliate member and go to those meetings regularly so you can build some centers of influence, connect, and even look for opportunities to educate within your local community, right? But the end goal, right, gang, on that one is really that you become their go-to insurance guy or gal, right? That's the end all be all holy grail of getting involved with an association, that they endorse you as that person to work with in the local community. You'll also see some other golden items under acquisition for a commercial marketing consultation. That's available today. If you sign up for a marketing consultation, you can say, I want to learn more about all the different tools and resources on the commercial marketing side. We're going to elevate that though and make sure all these new tools and resources are incorporated with those commercial marketing consultations. There's new social media posts that I'll highlight here in a second, as well as a future campaign that you'll be able to enroll in that will kind of be that set it and forget it, to have that regular nurturing going out on your social media channels with regards to business owner topics. And then finally, again, this is an exciting moment for Country. Our partners in marketing are going to do a first-time test of digital lead generation for business owners, right? We get some of those organic ones right off of countryfinancial.com today, but this will be the first one where we're driving through Google display ads and Google search, paid search, as well as inside LinkedIn, right? We're trying to drive them to engage with us. And that test will run this year in select markets, and then marketing will look to optimize that and figure out how do we help continue to grow that funnel to help bring in more new prospects to Country, and then what? Nurture them, right? Those that don't ask to talk to you or get a quote, right? We want to make sure we have a nurturing campaign that follows up with them so that they prompt them to get in touch with you locally as well. Yes, and then I mentioned drilling into the core client appetite guide. Hopefully you saw these during your commercial market managers roadshows for Commag Pass. Those of you in the final wave 3, I think some of those are out there right now going on and going all the way up through right before Thanksgiving. So be watching for those if you haven't attended in the wave 3 states. But this new resource, as I mentioned, is your one-stop shop, right? Again, we worked with your peers from the NAC Commag subcommittee. We also have a Commag Pass field feedback readiness group that has different levels of tenured reps in the space, as well as district leaders and area directors guide. And we got all of their feedback on these guides. And I recall one rep specifically said, gosh, and this is one of our more experienced reps on NAC, I can't imagine where I could have been if I had this when I got started, right? This one place to go to help me. It has the training links in there. It has all those key coverages and differentiators from ISO. And it has in there what you need to do a quote, what's the minimum things you need to collect, as well as links to the marketing stuff and information about who to contact when. But most importantly, what we worked with your peers on is those conversation starters. Like, if you remember some of the old ones, they're like yes or no questions. They weren't a conversation starter, right? They're like a checklist. These are true conversations to really get in to understand that business, their goals towards the future, their exposures, their needs, through the help of your peers in coming up with these conversation starters. So tremendous opportunity to leverage these, whether you're experienced in commercial or for one of your team members that you're adding, or even if you're brand new, great place for all of you to start. If you want to advance. And then the next slide, this is kind of just a sample of the updated flyers and brochures that marketing has done. This is our core segment flyers. They're a one-pager front and back, right? They have those key coverages, right, specific to that segment, right? Because we all know, right, a professional service office could care less about refrigerated products, but a florist, right, or a restaurant, that's extremely important. So the coverages listed on that second page are very unique to that core segment. And obviously it's personalized from you and downloadable. A thing to note though, as we're in this midst of the transition of some states rolling out, others still haven't rolled out yet, you'll need to note inside Brand Builder, there will be all of the flyers and pieces will either say the PAS version, right? And that's the one you need to use if you've rolled out in your state and gone live already, because that's going to have the new product features and coverage amounts. And then the old versions will say non-PAS version, right? So just make sure as you're going out to Brand Builder, you're picking the right version depending on your state. The other thing that's been updated is the BOP brochure, as well as the countryfinancial.com commercial pages have also been updated to reflect all of our new product enhancements. And Nicole, if you want to jump to the next slide. Social samples, again, just to give you a sense of what those look like, from business 101 tips to cybersecurity to upcoming ones coming out later this fall for Small Business Saturday, as well as for end of year business planning, right? Because just like all of you do end of year business planning, all of our small business owner clients and prospects are doing end of year and start of new year business planning and reviews. And so therefore, there's going to be more posts out under here say that you have available to you to really connect and nurture out in the digital space with our small business owners. And then we can't forget, right? When we think about growth, it's not just about acquisition of new, right? How do we cross-sell and retain, right? And then also, how do we monitor that performance as business owners? So on the left-hand side in bold are the new tools for cross-selling and retention. Inside that commercial book of business dashboard, you will now have upsell product opportunities. That'll tell you, like, who of these current policy holders may be eligible for some of those new product enhancements that Greg mentioned, right? And that'll be right there in your dashboard. And then there'll be a separate tab that shows you all of your policies converting in the next 90 days, right? And so that's a quick look for you to say, of all those important conversations I need to have with clients, these are the ones that are coming up that I can share all these great changes that are happening to their policies and their coverages. Craig mentioned the commercial auto rating model dashboard. Craig, that's actually a separate dashboard, just a heads up on that. And that will be available to you as well, so you can dive deep into that specific change and those variables that are impacting your commercial auto policies. In the first quarter of next year, marketing is going to do a workers' comp cross-sell campaign, right? So as we expand into those 6 new states, but even for those of you within our existing work comp states, we're going to have a list of all the clients that have the potential to cross-sell work comp to, or even as you consider moving folks from brokerage over to country now in those new states. And then on the right-hand side, no new tools yet, but definitely you have tools available at your fingertips for your quoting, your conversion, right? You have the market and activity close rates that are shared with your district leaders every month from our commercial market managers. And then obviously you have your commission and compensation reports to help you monitor you and your team's overall performance. All right, that's a lot. A lot of tools, a lot of resources. Ken's going to drop some links that give you the main pages where all that lives. So you don't have to worry about, oh my gosh, what did Holly say in all those different lists? They're out mostly off of the Sales Growth Toolbox page, and then there will be a conversion SharePoint page that's introduced to all of you as well as a tool. But I really want to hone in on this. What actions can you take today, right? Whether you're new to commercial or experienced. So this slide is if you're new, right? Just real quick. Right, and whether that's you or whether that's a team member, right, on your team that's specializing in commercial or that you're wanting to grow in commercial, all the way to the right-hand side where you're finding a mentor and you're getting involved with centers of influence in your community and you're participating in study groups, right? That's how you're going to learn and build your confidence. And then Nicole, if you jump to the next slide. And if you're experienced in commercial, the main thing is your golden tactic, right? You can read all the other little buttons on here, but I can't say this enough. The money maker, right, is referrals. Referrals from your current clients, whether that's a personalized client, right, that you're asking who do they know in the local area, or gang, over 6 million businesses have started up in the last couple of years since COVID. So many of your personal lines clients could have started up a business out of their home and they don't even know they need business insurance, right? Let alone referrals from your current business owner clients. All the way up to getting involved with business owner events. And even as you think about your growth plans of the future, thinking about hiring a team member focused in this area for your commercial growth going forward. But I just want to say thank you to this group. We are looking forward to you accelerating and taking your commercial book of business and diversification, as Sean mentioned, to the next level, and really look at 2026, your business plan, as the catapult for your trajectory in the future. So thanks, Nicole.
Thank you so much, Holly. Wow, that was such great information. So everyone, please use that react button. Give Holly a thunderous round of applause for us, because now we're going to enter into a short period of additional questions and answers that we will be directing to both Holly and Craig. So I'm going to start with the oldest question that came in, the one that was sent in about 25 minutes ago from Mr. Lacani. He said, why not companies operating without insurance up to 12 months instead of 6 months may be considered for issuance of a BOP?
Yeah, I can take that one. The answer would simply be that we're not confident in our ability to price those, to be perfectly honest. Those clients that have been operating without insurance, we don't know the situation where they had a loss. That's kind of the wake-up call to get insurance, and you got a prior loss that was uninsured that we're not accounting for, or maybe they just recently had a loss. We don't want to pick up a recently incurred loss inadvertently. But I guess the short answer would just be that right now we're not confident in our ability to match price that unknown risk. So that's something we have to kind of figure out or unlock to be able to make that more of a possibility.
Awesome, thank you. So our next question comes from Fidelia. What will be the max on CCC? Are we increasing that? I missed that if it was discussed.
Yep, absolutely. So CCC is, for everybody else, that's the fair custody and control coverage. Talking about contractors here. The current state is that when you write a contractor on a BOP policy, you get $2,000 of CCC built in. Then you can buy up to $10,000. But in the future, that $2,000 that you get automatically is going to be $5,000 with the new contractor advantage. So right away, a lot less heavy lifting there. And then the ceiling is going to go from $10,000 up to $25,000. So if the client needs more than 5 that we're giving them, they'll be able to purchase up to $25,000.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. All right, our next question comes from Chad. With the changes to commercial auto, will we be considering bobtail auto policies?
Oh man, good question. So Bob, we're getting into the trucker space now. And so trucking risk, we do write some trucking risk. Our focus on very small fleets. I think this goes back to the conversation earlier. We don't have a telematics program. We don't have a really high level of sophistication within our commercial auto rating. We're getting better. We're not super sophisticated still. And trucking is like one of the most challenging segments. So within commercial auto, which is a challenge line of business across the industry, trucking is like the pinnacle of some of those challenges. We've been fortunate in the sense that our trucking book of business has actually continued to perform really well following some changes that we made several years ago now around fleet size. But with the transition to the new rating model and the new system, we're not changing anything associated with our trucking guidelines. So there's going to be no contractions, no expansions of what we're doing within the trucker space.
Awesome. So I'm going to kind of go flip it a little bit, because I want to direct this to Holly for a moment. Jake says, I love this, Holly. Let's sell some commercial. And then Heidi has a question. She said, I had a consultation in the spring and was told that we could only do once a year. With this new material coming out, will I be able to have another consult sooner?
Yes, great question. Actually, right now, they are still holding ground to say 1 consultation per year, just to give the opportunity for all reps to have a marketing consultation. But I will check with our marketing folks, because they are trying to enhance more commercial focus, right, as that helps our Destination 2030 strategy. So maybe we can't nudge them a little bit to maybe look at 6 months. So I will take that as a follow-up for me and the marketing team to look into.
So thank you. So our next question comes from Maria. Clarification. You were saying that there will be an increase on commercial. When is it? I didn't get the exact date. In Wisconsin, I've been seeing an increase in the premium for the commercial.
Sure, so, as far as the commercial auto rating model goes, the net increase across the book is gonna be a zero. That's what I was talking about, the rating on that front. And then within that net zero, some will have some small increases or decreases, and some bigger or smaller increases or decreases. As far as other rate activity, whether it be Wisconsin or any other state, I would continue to check the rate news articles and the agency facing rate news hub, where we communicate all of the upcoming rate changes for each commercial line of business.
Awesome. Thank you, both of you. So that is going to conclude our time allotted for Q&A to Holly and Craig. Everyone, please give them both a thunderous round of applause using that react emoji, and for them taking time out of our day to pass this knowledge on to us. So with that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at these resources that are available to help support you as you grow with your PNC. Now, these links here on the slide deck are live, so you can click on them directly, but Kim has also pinned them to the top of the thread for you to access. You should be able to access the ComAg PAS SharePoint, the Agency Commercial Hub 2.0, the Click to Know commercial, so that should give you really great information. That's the first go-to. Now, the Sales Growth Toolbox for the commercial, if you're looking to increase your sales in the commercial space, Brand Builder, the flyers that Holly was touching on, that is where you will go to find those and do rate updates. So with that, I would also like to talk to you a moment about having another Growing PC Together session that we have coming up. We do sincerely hope that you will join us for that session, because this session is going to cover different content, but it does run at the same time from 12:30 to 1:30 Central Time. And you can click directly on the slide deck to register for this course, but it is also tied into the links that Kim has shared and pinned to the top of your Q&A thread. Now, I'm going to go ahead and hand the reins back to Sean. Since he started us off with his opening remarks, he's going to close us out with some closing remarks. Sean, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Nicole. And, Craig and Holly, I said this at the beginning, that their work starts and ends with you in mind. And, I think they both mentioned that, if there's feedback you have, they're looking for it, because there's a lot of that feedback they take and put into these programs to make them better. And I just want to thank you once again for the crucial role you play in the growth of our company, your partnership as we navigate to better outcomes, better systems, processes, which all leads to better experiences for everyone. And we appreciate you deeply. We appreciate your teams, and very much look forward to seeing you at our next December 17th Growing PC Together. That'll actually give a little bit more dose of ComAg during that one, but there will be a very special announcement related to our auto product line that you've all been asking for several years, and you will not want to miss that opportunity. So have a great rest of the week and keep continuing the excellent work for clients. We appreciate you very much, and just have a great rest of the afternoon.